Okay, so today I have a sander, one of these drum sanders, one of these Clarke drum sanders, and I need to change the drum because there's been some chunks taken out of it. I just want to get a new drum on there, and these are actually press fit onto this shaft right here. So the drum goes over the shaft. There's a little key in the keyway here. There's a nut that tightens down, and it actually tightens the nut onto the shaft so that the drum is registered with the shaft. It can't uh, not move while the shaft is moving. That's the whole that's the whole deal. So I've already taken off the nut. It takes an impact wrench to take this nut off, which I've already done. The problem is getting this drum off of here because it's a press fit. Now, if I had a press, that'd be great. I could just press it off. Use a 20-ton press on the other side, get it off. But I don't have a 20-ton press here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of makeshifting. So I'll end up, I don't want to have to bang it off, put it on the ground, bang it off. Done that already. I've done a zillion of these things. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm just going to extend the shaft. I'm going to use a coupler, okay, 3/8. This is 3/8 inch. I'm going to use a nut, a 3/8. A 3/8 bolt. Okay, just going to couple the bolt to it. Okay, I don't have to have these washers here. Although I could put it on a board and be all nice and flat, that I could sit it on there, but I don't need to do that. I just need to get it on the ground and just bang that thing off. Okay, I'm just going to take this, I'm going to twist it onto the shaft. It's actually a perfect fit. You don't want to bang on this threads here because you'll roll the threads and then you'll never get another nut on there. There's actually a lock nut that goes on there, an aircraft style lock nut that has a nylon fitting. Now the object is to get it as close to the drum as you can. So as you can see here, I've got it fairly close. It looks like it's actually going to fit inside there, but what I'm doing is I'm just bringing it out a little bit. It only has to go a little ways. Probably untwist it a little bit. Okay, so now I've got the nut on here. Okay, I've got a little bit of space in there, but this nut is actually, it looks like it's actually smaller than the actual shaft, because the shaft is probably, I would say, 3/4 of an inch wide. The hardware that comes out of there is a 1/2 inch nut. So, I mean a 1/2 inch thread, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this guy, I'm going to put it on concrete. I don't want to do this on asphalt. Put it on concrete, I'm going to tilt it. Okay. Now it's actually on the concrete, okay? And then I'm just going to bang. I can get a little bit to the metal part of the drum, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this guy here. Just going to bang it. Okay, it looks like it's making some movement. I'm going to keep doing that until it bangs its way free of the shaft. And I'm going to keep rotating the shaft here. I don't want to mark up the drum too much because it's got a core deposit on the drum, so I really don't want to bang it up too bad. Now normally, you would press that off of there if you had a shop press, which I don't at this location, so I'm doing it this way. So that's the way it comes off, and let me see if I can show the proof of the pudding. Yeah, it's made a little bit of progress, but I just keep doing that, keep rotating, and eventually what will happen is the friction from this will actually come off of the shaft, and then it'll be done. I'll be able to remove the shaft. So thanks for watching the video. Okay, so now I've got the nut on here. Okay, I've got a little bit of space in there, but this nut is actually, it looks like it's actually smaller than the actual shaft, because the shaft is probably, I would say, 3/4 of an inch wide. The hardware that comes out of there is a 1/2 inch nut. So, I mean a 1/2 inch thread. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this guy. I'm going to put it on concrete. I don't want to do this on asphalt. Just put it on concrete. I'm going to tilt it. Okay. Now it's actually on. It's actually on the. It's actually on the concrete. Okay. And then I'm just going to bang. I've got I can get a little bit to the metal part of the drum. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this guy here. Just going to bang it. Okay, it looks like it's making some movement. I'm going to keep doing that until it bangs its way free of the shaft. And I'm going to keep rotating the shaft here. I don't want to mark up the drum too much because it's got a core deposit on the drum, so I really don't want to bang it up too bad. Now normally, you would press that off of there if you had a shop press, which I don't at this location, so I'm doing it this way. So that's the way it comes off, and let me see if I can show the proof of the pudding. Yeah, it's made a little bit of progress, but I just keep doing that, keep rotating, and eventually what'll happen is the friction from this will actually come off of the shaft, and then it'll be done. I'll be able to remove the shaft. So thanks for watching the video. Oh yes, and I did want to show the reason I decided to do it that way instead of just banging it off and let it bang off. The reason is because this end of the shaft is actually pressed into a cog here, and the shaft was actually moving. It was actually moving the shaft out. Some of the drum was moving off the shaft, but I didn't have anything to stop it on the other side, so I decided to do it that way instead. Now every bang that I make, it's not furthering this coming out of here. I'm going to have to bang this back in here. As you can see, there's a key that goes into the cog there. So that's the reason I had to take that method of doing it. I've been able to bang these off before, and this shaft hasn't moved through here, but this one's particularly stubborn. So, and it's not warped or anything, I don't think. So I guess I'll find that out when I get it off. But the machine wasn't vibrating, so I know that it's not warped. And if it is, it's just a very minor bit. Pretty hard to warp one of those shafts. Like I said, it's like 3/4 of an inch thick, and it's made out of hardened steel. So anyway, that's the reason I decided to go this route instead of just banging it off like I normally do. The other thing too is that banging it off is kind of hard on the gears under here, or I mean on the bearings under here. So it's just better to do it that way. That way all the pressure is put on the shaft and not on any other part. Oh yes, and I did want to bang that shaft back into the cog, by the way, before I got that thing off, just so it's registered and it doesn't come out anymore. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking an impact socket and I'm just kind of hitting it with the mallet. So now you can see it's level. I wanted to do that because I wanted this to be right before I actually got the drum off the shaft. So now we're all good there. And I'll probably give you a little bit of a close-up just to see what I'm talking about there. You can kind of see there's a key right there in there, and then that's the cog. So I'll be back on camera once I get the drum off the shaft. Okay, so I banged away for about 7 or 8 minutes. Now it's actually come off, so it finally dropped. So now what I'm going to do is just tilt it back up on the other side. I'll show you what I'm trying to do once I've got it off of there. Whoops. Get it off on the other side. Now let me see if it's centered. Not centered. Okay, there we go. So now I just take the works off of here. So the coupling nut, what it does in effect is it extends that shaft. It puts a head on it, puts a bolt head on it. and I can use the sidewalk as my leverage. Now, the other thing too is if you're going to bang away like this and you value your concrete, don't do it like I did. I'm at storage. I'm in a storage facility, so I don't care what happens to that concrete. But if you care what happens to your concrete, you're going to want to put, you know, like a steel block underneath the bolt there. So, you know, I just use a piece of billet steel here, you know, and this is the end I'm banging on. I don't really care what happens to that because it's just scrap metal. So that's what I do. Now it's actually come clear of here, so I just gotta, whoops, just gotta lift it a little bit. Anyway, it's a little bit stuck, so I'm gonna have to leverage it with a crowbar or something. But anyway, I'm gonna pull this off. So let me get back on camera once I do. Okay, so you can see the shaft that the drum is actually fit on, and I can't get this to be still. Anyway, okay, you can see that, and now basically this has got to come off of here. I don't want it to fall because I don't want to chunk any more off of that drum than it already is. So what I'll end up doing is just kind of tapping it a little bit. Then it just comes free of that shaft. It's a very tight fixture fit, so that's what happens. And let me see here. There we go. I can kind of twist it off and get it off of there. Just like that. Always some bullshit stuff stuck on the end. Well, it's gonna fall because I don't have 3 hands. Come on. Anyway, let me just get it. Let me just tap it off. I'm thinking maybe the shaft is slightly warped, possibly. I've seen them to where they get warped every once in a while. Depends on what happens to the machine, you know. Maybe I can get it like that. There it goes. Okay, so it came free. So as you can see, shaft, and that's what fit on the shaft. So I think that's the end of the video, and I hope you learned something. The most important part I hope you learned is to protect your concrete if you're going to do this in your backyard or on your own property. But this is, like I said, it's a storage place, so I'm not really worried about what happens to the concrete here. So thank. Oh yeah, more footnote. I did actually, you know, soak this. It's a good idea to soak it overnight, but I soaked it for about an hour with PB Blaster, you know, just to make sure that there's lubricant that has slipped down into that hole. I don't know if the lubricant actually gets down in that hole. You know, about the only thing I could think that would fit in something that tight would be graphite, but you'd have to be able to, you know, roll it around and twist the drum separate from the shaft to be able to get that graphite to move around. And trust me, if you got graphite down in there, you got that thing going, that thing is just slip right off. But anyway, so that might be an easier way of getting it off. I'm not sure. You know, I do have a little bottle of graphite, but I didn't want to get. It's kind of messy to work with graphite because